The Beyond Africa podcast. Welcome to the Beyond Africa podcast, the only platform where experts share their views on African issues. Ladies and gentlemen, you're welcome to the Beyond Africa podcast with me, Ngalim Bernard, your host. We focus on Cameroon again because elections are on October 2025. The president is 93 years old. He's been president for 43 years. Before then, he occupied high offices in the country, and again, he is running to succeed himself. If he wins, as he is expected to win, that would be a milestone because he'll be in power until he is 99 years old. We've not seen this anywhere else in the world. That is going to be historic, that is going to be strange, and that calls for curiosity. What are Cameroonians doing to ensure that their leader represents them, their leader is somebody who reflects them, and their leader is somebody who serves them? This is the question we're going to ask today with our guest who is in the studio. He's going to tell us why he broke up with them, why he broke up with the regime, and why he is advocating very strongly for an international consensus and diasporan activity and action towards this election to ensure that the current government leaves for a new government to take place. He is no other person but Mr. Ben Modo. You are welcome to the Beyond Africa podcast, Ben Modo.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ngalim.
It's a pleasure to have you here. Like every other Cameroonian, I have seen you, I have read from you, we've heard from you, but the line of communication now seems to be a little bit different. But let us start on a lighter note. How are you perceiving these elections coming up?
So I believe that the people of Cameroon must force Mr. Biya out. I do not expect that Mr. Biya will go on his own. So it is my belief that the people of Cameroon must force him out of power. So I do not expect anything other than that come October 12th. So it's going to be a power struggle.
Any person I host on this program says the same thing. They believe Mr. Biya is going to be the president again, but nobody says he is going to win the elections.
No, he cannot win the election. If you see what's happening in Cameroon, if you know what's happening in Cameroon, there is no way Mr. Biya wins this election. It cannot happen. Will never happen. So having said that, there is only one other possibility, one other option left to have Mr. Biya in power, and that is to steal elections. That's what he has been doing, and that's what he plans to do, and that's the reason why the people of Cameroon must ensure that Mr. Biya is out of office come October 12th.
So recently I hosted Ambassador Naj, the former Undersecretary for Africa under President Trump during his first mandate. And he served in the United States diplomatic mission in Cameroon. He said he observed the 1992 elections at the military barracks, and he was surprised that John Frundi won in those barracks. But again, he was surprised that Paul Biya was declared victor at the end of the day. So looks like the trend has been elections have not been reflecting what people are voting. Not saying that his word is gospel, but just kind of reflecting the thoughts around.
Tibor knows what he's talking about. So when he says he was surprised, any real observer of the Cameroonian context, Cameroonian politics, knows that Mr. Biya cannot win elections in Cameroon. It's a given. It's known. He cannot win elections in Cameroon. The only way Mr. Biya stays in power is if he steals that election. And he's been stealing those elections starting in 92, what Mr. Nagy was referring to, and he's been doing that. He's the special one when it comes to stealing elections, especially in the country of Cameroon.
But when you talk about stealing elections and the institutions and the laws are there, he follows the institutions and follows the laws, and the institutions declare him the victor, why would you immediately assign that to theft?
Institutions are made according to his image. He's the one who thinks institutions. He makes them. He makes the people. He's like the owner of Cameroon. And the whole world needs to come to that understanding. He's the one who can make it or can break it. He does what he wants. If he feels like winning by 90%, he's going to win by 90%. Not because the people decide that he's won by 90%, but simply because If he feels like winning today by 70%, he's going to win by 70%. That's just the reality in Cameroon. And the whole world needs to understand what's happening in Cameroon. There is no fair elections in Cameroon, not while Mr. Biya, at least, and there will not be fair elections in Cameroon while Mr. Biya is there. The people of Cameroon must be free, and it's going to take something just more than just elections.
Before we talk about what the world needs to understand about Cameroon from your perspective, you've been working so hard on that. I want us to clear this because the audience should be asking questions now. They know that you've done some business with the government of Cameroon at very high levels. So why should they trust you?
Well, I'm not asking that they trust me. I just want them to look at the reality. We went to Cameroon a few years back, and we came to Cameroon through the U.S. Embassy, because we had a few bids. We competed against Chinese and French companies, and we had the best bid. And the government of Cameroon did not select us at the time, because many people are under the impression that we walked in. It was like a coronation.
Because people understand the way bids work in Cameroon. It's great behind the doors, and when they see you having such an important bid,
there was a competition. You had about 13 or 14 companies bidding for the same projects, and we had the best price, and we had the best quality to cost ratio. And the commission decided to select a Chinese company to do the work. At that point, we felt that the field was not level, so we complained. And thankfully, we had an ambassador in Cameroon, Ambassador Michael Hosa. He did a wonderful job. He immediately contacted the president of Cameroon, explained what was wrong in the process, and the president of Cameroon at the time decided that things were going to be made fair. That's how we went back and were awarded that contract based on the president's instruction at the time. So when we were awarded that contract, the folks at the presidency came back to us to say, okay, listen, now that you have been awarded this contract, we want you to hire the Chinese company that you just defeated. Let them have the projects, and you just take 10%, and life will be good for you and all of us. And obviously, we rejected that option, but it was our focus to ensure that the work is done normally, that the project is completed, and that we walked out of Cameroon. Unfortunately, it took so much time to get there, and it wasn't as easy because of corruption, because of pressure, so many things that went wrong in Cameroon.
There was a very famous clip of you on social media in which you were talking about the Olympic Stadium. And in that clip, you said that a truckload of sand worth 200,000 francs CFA.
That wasn't me, and this is something I'm not sure how people attach that to me, because it wasn't me. The person who said that was Mr. I forget his name. His first name is Constant. He's the one who was actually doing work in Douala.
Does he look like you?
Yeah, I mean, he has my type of hair, so so I'm thinking that people just felt like they needed to attach that quote to someone, and that's how I was.
Why did they choose you instead of talking about the person who did it?
I don't know why they did that. I believe that one reason, because to answer that question, you have to understand, when we land in Cameroon, what was the context? There was a team in Cameroon that used to do projects. And that team was led by people like Louis-Paul Motaze from the Ministry of Finance. At the time, he was at the Ministry of Economy. Ganu Jumesi, who was, I believe, in another ministry, Travaux Publics.
Marché Public at the time, I think.
Public, yeah. So you have that group of people, and they were not happy that back in 2015, I believe, end of 2015, the president of the African Confederation, of Soccer.
Yeah, Confederation of African Football.
Yeah, so the president of that confederation actually suggested to the president of Cameroon that if you want to play that competition in Cameroon, you have to bring the organization back to your office. He's the one who made that proposal to President Biya. His name is Issa Ayatu, I believe. Yeah, that was his name at the time. So he proposed that to the president. The president accepted that proposal and decided that anything related to AFCON was going to be managed by the presidency. So now you have a president taking over 120 projects from the ministries and relocating all those projects at the presidency of Cameroon. So the people in the ministries did not understand why the president was doing that. So they decided to sabotage the effort by the presidency. That is the context. So when we land, you have a group of ministers in Cameroon decided to make sure that there's going to be no competition in Cameroon. So they did everything they could do to discredit anyone who was selected by the presidency and trying to show that nothing could be done. That's the context. So when we get to Cameroon, that's what we found. That's the fight between those groups. The group that used to have the management of those projects against the group, the presidency, that was now awarding those projects. So that fight, we did not create it. So they made sure that they would basically discredit anyone and anything related to AFCON. So when we come in, no one knows how we got the contract. They don't know that Ambassador Hosa did a wonderful job in Cameroon. They don't know that. Only a handful of people know actually how we got the contract. So they assume that if this guy, someone we don't know, we know he's coming from the US, and they say he must be his friend. So they started just creating confusion, making sure that Cameroonians are informed of things that never existed. That's how
that is right, because there is no way a Cameroonian would think that you have such a high-level market or high-level contract in Cameroon run by the presidency, and you are not a friend of somebody in the high places.
Exactly. Unfortunately, that's how Cameroon works. Again, we did not create that. I can only tell you how we got there. And how we got there is through the U.S. advocacy.
Just to clarify our viewers, so you are the CEO of Prime Potomac and Ashton Bridge.
Correct.
Yeah. And these are American companies because you are a Cameroonian based in the United States.
Yes.
And you do business between the United States and other African countries. And this time, 2015, was with Cameroon for the AFCON, the stadium, and all the rest.
Exactly.
So when you say you landed there, it means you bid for these projects all the way from the United States. Yeah. And in collaboration with the U.S. Embassy in Cameroon, you then won the bid and you had to execute the market.
Exactly. And because I was new in Cameroon, everyone...
When did you leave Cameroon? You say you were new. When did you leave Cameroon?
I left Cameroon at the end of the 1990s.
That was a long time. Yeah.
You know, came to the US. So in 2016, went back to Cameroon for those projects. So we started with Fekafu, and it didn't work simply because of corruption. You know, when you have a football.
Let me interrupt you here. I interviewed Tibonage again, and Tibonage brought up this problem of corruption. Oh. He said when he went to Cameroon in 2018-ish, 19-ish, he raised this problem with the president, and nothing has changed.
Okay, let me tell you a few things. I'm just going to take you a few examples. So when I talk about corruption, I'm talking about something I've lived. So one example is you finish, my people, my company does the work. And in order to get paid by the government, you need engineers, you need people from the government side to approve your work. So they have to sign and say, okay, listen, this guy did the work per plan according to what was scheduled. And in order for you to get that signature, you need 2 or 3 of those signatures. In order for you to get that, you have to pay. And if you refuse to pay, people will not sign the documents you need to get paid. As a result, you find yourself in a position where you get paid in 2019 for work done in 2017. And in the meantime, you've already spent 2 years with all sorts of problems. You have strikes going on site. Those workers, those suppliers, they don't know that the reason why you're suffering this much is because you don't want to pay people who have no business asking you for money. And I went to the minister's office, not only one minister, many of them. And I told them, okay, listen, your collaborator, Mr. A, doesn't want to sign this because he asks for money, and this is how much he needs. And every single time, and I'm telling you, I did that like 12 or 14 times.
Wow.
And every single time I confronted the ministers, they never called the person that I was accusing. Never did anything to change that.
Did that imply to you that they are working on the minister's instructions or in collaboration with the minister?
I mean, it says what it says. If you go and complain 12 or 14 times against people, and this is not just one person, and it's not just one ministry, you're talking about several ministries. And I can even tell you, I have another company doing business in Cameroon. That company is called Ashton Bridge that you just mentioned. So what we do is we buy cocoa and we manage forest. And we were waiting for the Ministry of Forestry to deliver a document. And the guy tells me, in order for him to deliver that document, I'm going to need to pay him a certain amount of money. So after talking to him, I have the minister's number, and I tell the minister, Mr. X, this is what he said, this is what he told me. And the minister says nothing. Says absolutely nothing. Does nothing. And you could wait there like for 6 or 8 months. It's not gonna change. And the guy who asks you for that money tells you that if you don't pay that money, you will never get that document. And it's gonna be as he says.
Does that say anything about the absolute desire to maintain power?
I would say that desire, but I would also say they have no clue in reality. You know, I've dealt with people who truly believe that corruption was the way of life. So when you complain about corruption, they would almost tell you, hey, come on, man, just give them what they're asking for. You know, they would be surprised that you are complaining against corruption. And that's the reason why wherever we went, we had problems. You talked about the stadiums. I just told you about forestry, which is totally different. So one cannot say it's a matter of one sector. No, corruption is a culture in Cameroon. And unless the people on top are changed, nothing's going to happen in that country. Nothing. Nothing to hope for.
Wow. That's a sobering recollection of an experience, business or otherwise, to operate under in a particular country.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you are just joining us now, you are watching the Beyond Africa podcast with me, Ngalim Bernard, your host, and my guest, Ben Modo. Ben Modo is the CEO of Prime Potomac and Ashton Bridge, American companies doing business across Africa and in Cameroon. We are focusing on Cameroon today because Ben is Cameroonian. He has an affection with Cameroon. Oh, Ben used to be a Cameroonian. He has an affection for Cameroon. He does business in Cameroon.
I like that to be clear, right? My origin, I'm from Cameroon origin, right? So that's the country I came from. I decided to choose another nationality, another country, and I'm proud of that. I'm also proud to be originally from Cameroon, and so don't get me wrong.
Absolutely. Before we even go to the context of what I wanted us to talk about, which is the petition that you launched, let us talk a little bit about the diaspora. I'll be released another video today about what I had a conversation with others, and we spoke about the diaspora and these elections. I want to get your perspective on this. How involved is the Cameroonian diaspora, whether naturalized or not? Anybody who is original from Cameroon, how involved are they in these elections?
I think that they are not as involved as they should be.
Is it their fault?
Yeah, part of it is their fault.
So how should they be involved?
See, I've read a few books about war. The best of them, or one of the best, being The Art of War. And when you read those books, you understand very clearly that power is not something that's given. Even when President Naijo handed power to Mr. Biya, it wasn't something that was just done like that. It was under duress. Proof is that when he realized that he was not going to die, as he was told, he came back. See? So the transfer of power is always a struggle. It could be an organized struggle, like in a country like the US, where there's going to be a fight, but it's a fight that will not reach a certain point. Or in the country of, in the case of African countries, most African countries, it could lead to a war. So the African diaspora needs to understand that struggle must take place. Currently, it's a struggle that takes lives, but it's the job of the African diaspora to ensure that that changes and that the struggle becomes an organized struggle, much like here, where the transfer of power is peaceful but still tough. And in order to make that happen, the diaspora must play its role. Look at Europe. Right after the Second World War II, Europe was destroyed. But who helped rebuild Europe? It was mostly migrants from Europe that had moved to the US, that they were not building Europe because they planned to go back to Europe. No. They did it simply because it was the right call to make. Because it's not because you've left the continent or because you've left the country or you are no more part of that country that country will be abandoned. At one point or the other, that country served you. You were either born there or you have people there that you know. So even if you are part of another people today, it does not exonerate you from doing everything that is needed to help that people get better. And there are so many ways to do it. So many ways. See, in the US today, let me just take a simple example. The US today has at least, at the minimum, you could count 100,000 Cameroonians in the US. There is a problem in Cameroon where someone's been in power for 43 years, destroying a country, oppressing his people. And when we launch a petition to sanction that government, not up to, because when someone goes and signs, we know the person is from the US or from Europe and so forth. Not up to 5,000 people in the US signed that petition. Not up to 5,000. Now imagine what could be the result, the impact.
Ben, let's talk about the petition in a moment. I still want us to talk about the diaspora. We'll get to that.
Sure.
Yeah. So besides the petition that we are going to talk about in a moment, what are other measures that the Cameroonian diaspora could adopt to play an active role in?
They need to be conscious of their power. So when they deal with Africa or Cameroon in this case, they have to be conscious. They need to be conscious of their power. If the diaspora is not there, the Cameroonian economy is going down.
And how should they manifest this power? Because it's evident that remittances play a significant role in the national economy, or especially at a social level. But how can they leverage this?
Let me just tell you
political change.
I said, okay, listen. I believe Mr. Biya's government, Mr. Biya's power must end. And I had people in my family telling me, as you know, I'm from the center region, which is a region very close to the government in power. And when I told people from my family, okay, listen, this government must go. I mean, the first fight I needed to have was within my family, because I had to convince people that it's in their best interest that Mr. Biya's be forced out of power. And they refuse to understand that. Part of the reason why they refuse to understand that is that I could send some money here and there to make sure that their needs are taken care of. So they have the feeling that, well, they could do with Mr. Biya in power. So what I did was, okay, listen, I'm no more sending any money until we are on the same page regarding what needs to be done for Mr. Biya.
That is bullying, Ben. You just bullied them to adopt your position.
What needs to be done has to be done.
But that's oppression. That is dictatorship.
No, I mean, call it dictatorship, maybe. But the fact is, if you don't feel the pain, if you don't know that you are not going to have the clothes you want to have today because of Mr. Biya, if you know that, well, Mr. Biya will start becoming a reality for you. And you will start feeling the pain of those people who have no one to help them. And you will understand how they feel when they say Mr. Biya must go. So I did what I did, and it worked.
It works for your family, and you think it should work for other families.
So I'm hoping that someone, will follow that and make sure that somehow the families that feel very comfortable in Cameroon, despite all the disorder that Mr. Biya is putting there, we hope that those families will do the right thing.
Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you so much. And as we were talking about the diaspora, one of the reasons I started this podcast was to kind of bridge that gap between the diaspora and the home, because most people, when they live from home, they forget about home, and they don't play that active role that they should actually play in bringing up development at home, in pulling the hands of those that they can pull at home. Like you've mentioned your businesses in Cameroon, and that is a clear example of the examples I want to showcase on this platform. Let those who have succeeded in doing something come here and explain the difficulties they have faced, as you have explained. You are not unique. There are many other people who are facing these difficulties, and when they tell their stories, it discourages others from doing or from even engaging. But when you tell the story and tell them how you overcame the corruption by pleading with other people like the US ambassador to Cameroon, it can change perspectives, and it can also build partnerships and build partnerships with other investors back at home. So that is the reason for this platform. And that cannot work unless there is good governance. So besides showcasing what people are doing, we have to ensure there is good governance. And that is why we discuss politics here also. So, Ben, let us turn to your petition. You launched this petition, and in the petition, you make it very clear that the main opposition candidate was barred from running in this election.
Yeah.
Paul Biya is 92 years old. He's planning to be in power until he is 99.
Yeah.
And you say, to protect the democratic rights of Cameroonians and support American interests in the region, it is imperative to call on the U.S. Congress to pass a resolution and for President Trump to sign an executive order sanctioning President Biya and 47 members of his totalitarian regime. These sanctions would send a strong message against electoral fraud and human rights abuses. So, this is what you want. I had Tibor here, and both Tibor and I agreed that President Trump's second mandate is focused on American interests, which you mentioned in here, American interests. And Ambassador Troy Fettrell, who just retired, he was Special Envoy for Africa, he just retired. He has said America's or President Trump's interest in Africa is going to be based on priority countries that can do business with the United States, because that is President Trump's objective. Then I asked Ambassador Tibor if, from his experience, he thinks that Cameroon can qualify as a priority country. And he said more than 100% Cameroon qualifies as a priority country. So do you think, from your understanding of American politics, American Congress, and President Trump, do they see Cameroon as a priority country?
See, of course, they see Cameroon as a priority country, but that's not really what the question should be. The question should be, are we willing and ready to make Cameroon a priority country? Because priority countries are made. It's not a gift. It doesn't depend on someone's mood.
How do you make a country priority? They're interested in business, and there are certain businesses they are interested in. If those businesses cannot sustain in Cameroon.
Let me take you a simple example. We proposed to the Cameroonian opposition a project, and I presented that project a few days ago. The project is simple. We are going to create a major waterway between Edea and Kusere. That project is a major project for a country, for any African country, even any country in the world. It would still be a major project, including the US. That project will require funding of $120 billion over 5 years. The project will create 5 million jobs in Cameroon and 20,000 jobs in the US. So 35% of that amount will be Cameroonian content and 65% US content. Now, when you have $120 billion mentioned in a conversation, any day you have that type of money mentioned, it's US interest. Any day you have a project that can create 20,000 American jobs, that becomes US interest. So that's the reason why I told you a few minutes ago, that it's really not about whether a country is a priority country. When you understand the system, when you understand how it works, you make it work. So by proposing this project to the Cameroonian opposition, we just made Cameroon a priority country. Because the minute that project is signed, 20,000 American jobs are at stake. $120 billion will be at stake.
Have you raised the money already?
We have commitments. Actually, we have commitments for over the $120 billion. Over. So we are overcommitted. And the second part of this is going to be how we expand that project, but we don't want to talk about expansion right now. We want to stay focused on the part that was studied and see how that project can come true. What that means is that if the Cameroonian opposition accepts that project today, the future of the Cameroonian opposition becomes US interest. That's how you make a country become a priority country. Because the people in power in Yaoundé are useless to the people and useless internationally. You know, let's just face it. They don't work for their people. They work for themselves.
How do you say they don't work for themselves and they are useless internationally when the international community continues giving them these loans? I was looking at the website of the World Bank Cameroon profile, and it's very clear that Cameroon is at risk of more foreign debt.
Yes.
So the money keeps coming in from the international community.
You know why the money keeps coming in?
Tell us.
Because international organizations cannot do otherwise. If they abandon Cameroon, Cameroon is going to be a bankrupt country. And a bankrupt country is a major risk to stability in the sub-region and even the whole continent. So the World Bank, the IMF, and all the other financial institutions are actually blackmailed into helping Cameroon. Because if they don't help, that country goes bankrupt. That's the reason why, despite the fact that they say Cameroon is at the risk of, they keep putting in that money because there is no option. So it would actually work for everyone to bring in new leadership, people who can actually do the work, perform as planned, create jobs, create riches for their countries. Such a leader, such a country would be a country the World Bank, the IMF, and all the other institutions from international organizations. It would be a country, a leader, all those entities, international entities, would be willing and ready and happy to work with. But in the current state,
even if they are not happy to work with, they are still willing to work with the current government as it is.
No, they are not willing. That's the difference. They are not.
But they do it.
No, they are. That's the reason why I just said they are blackmailed into helping Cameroon.
Blackmailed by who?
See, Cameroon has a strategic position in Africa. The location of Cameroon is such that if that country is destabilized, the whole region can burn. And international organizations don't want that. Major countries don't want that. The US, for instance, knows that if there is trouble in Cameroon, the risk of terrorism just increases. So whether they like the government in Cameroon or not, there are things they will be forced to do, whether the IMF or the World Bank likes whatever is in Cameroon, likes the leader in Cameroon or not. They are forced into helping that leader so that the whole country does not collapse.
So what I'm hearing from you is,
Yeah.
whatever the case, the international community wants Cameroon as stable, quote unquote, as it is now.
Exactly.
Meaning,
not as it is, but stable. Because if we say as it is, it could imply that the government is involved or the poverty in Cameroon is what they want. No, that's not what they want. They want a stable Cameroon, but they are hoping for a solution within Cameroon.
so if they're hoping for a solution within Cameroon and the only solution can come from a change of government, and they continue giving money to that government to organize elections, and the government organizes elections and the results are the way the government wants it to be, and they keep on putting that money in, then the time bomb is only building up and it's going to explode at some point because they're trying to contain it for that moment.
See, the thing is that if they put that money in now, they are buying a few more months, a few more.
That is the point.
So if they don't give that money, they have that problem today. So what they are facing is, do we keep putting money in Cameroon and postpone the problem by a few months, hopefully a few years? Or do we stop helping Cameroon and face that crisis now? That's the problem. And that's the reason why I just told you that the international community is blackmailed into helping Cameroon. Because you have leaders in Cameroon who understand nothing, are incapable of finding solutions. But because it just so happened that they are in a position of leadership in a strategic country, the international community is forced to help them.
So in that case, what is the petition you launched going to change?
Well, number one, you have Mr. Biya and 47 members of his government that have done so many bad things.
But the international community doesn't care. Even the United States wants stability so that terrorism doesn't rise.
No,
so they'll ignore the ills you're outlining here.
No, whatever you do, it has to fall within a strategy. Once people understand the strategy, then they are more willing to follow you. And here's the strategy. Number one, before getting into this...
I like discussing strategy on TV. Go ahead.
Yeah. Before getting into this year's election, the regime of Mr. Biya must be weakened. One way to weaken that regime is to sanction the regime financially, because they have kids overseas, they have kids in Europe, they have kids in the US, they have homes, they have huge bank accounts, and all of that is on the back of the Cameroonian people. So they are committing crimes in Cameroon to maintain a lifestyle in countries like the US. So once those financial assets are sanctioned or seized, the people in power in Yaoundé will understand that the problem is coming to their home, because their kids will no more be able to live in those homes to use that money. So the problem is close to home. Now, the second step after that will be to actually sue those people at the International Court of Justice. Why? Because you have the problem in the Northwest and Southwest. You have people in this government, the Cameroonian government, that have made a lot of money because of the war. They have profited from that. And let me tell you, some of them are even amongst the people who encouraged that war by their policies, by what they said. So they must be held responsible. If those lawsuits can be filed before the election, then you have 2 points. You are 2-0 against that regime.
Let us look at this in two ways. Let us look at it in two ways.
Yeah.
The petition we're talking about is destined to the U.S. Congress and to the U.S. president.
Correct.
The current president, Trump, and his Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, they are not fans of the International Criminal Court because they have sanctioned
They're
them.
not concerned with the courts.
Yes.
They
So
are concerned.
how do you take this to the court? Is it this petition you're taking to the court or a different petition?
No. So MAGA Africa will, once we have secured the financial assets of, not only the financial assets, I should say, once we have secured the assets of that gang, those gangsters, once the assets are secure, our next step, I'm not talking about the U.S. government. What we want from the U.S. government is simply to sanction. There is a major fault, should I say many major faults, and those have to be punished. And the way the U.S. does that is by sanctioning those people who are stealing from Cameroon to maintain a lifestyle in the U.S., for instance. So they get sanctioned, and that's all. That's all we want from the U.S. government.
You remember
the second step?
Yeah. Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead. What was the second step?
So the second step is to file a lawsuit at the International Court of Justice, and that does not involve the U.S. The only thing that involves the U.S. is what the U.S. can do, and what the U.S. can do is to sanction those dictators.
Yeah, you know, Mugabe was sanctioned by the US, EU, but he stayed in power almost until the point of his death. So would these sanctions really be effective?
Mugabe was a different kind of profile. You know, it's someone who loved his country. It could be bizarre to say it, but this is a man who spent sometimes years within his country without going out. In Cameroon, you have a different profile. You have someone or a group of people who cannot stand their country. So they cannot stay in their country for a prolonged period of time. Why? Because they love how things are done overseas. They love life overseas. They are not able to change that life in their country.
They'll simply change destination. Instead of coming to the US, France, UK, Germany, they'll simply go to Japan, China.
We estimate that President Biya's family is worth around $4 billion overseas. Those are assets. In assets that we have localized, we have identified. So it would take a lot of time to transfer those assets to another region. I can tell you that it's impossible for Mr. Biya and his family to transfer $4 billion in assets. You have homes, you have hospitals, you have hotels, you have companies. You know, all those assets cannot be transferred in a matter of days or even months, for that matter. So we have them where we want them. All we want is for the U.S. to sanction them, and we will seize those assets.
So how far with the petition? How close are you to getting that sanction?
So we believe that we are close. We could be closer if we had even more people signing that petition. But at this point, we have about 15 or 16,000 signatures.
15,979 verified signatures.
Yeah. So ideally, we should have way more than that. Cameroonians, of people who originated from Cameroon all over the world should sign that petition, because that number matters. You know, anyways, when the time comes, and that time's going to come within the next few days, we are going to close signatures and start what we call phase 2, which is basically acting on the actual sanctions.
So what is that step 2 going to look like for somebody who signed and
So
is
it's
looking
going to
forward to that?
be us with Congress and with the White House. So this is work that has to be done completely behind the scene because a lot of negotiating will take place. Background work needs to take place to make sure that American leaders understand that it's not in the best interest of the US to have the power in Yaoundé remain as is, and that it is in the best interest of the US to sanction those people who not only endanger US interests in Africa, but also while endangering US interests in Cameroon, they also kill their own people. So those are things that cannot be accepted. And we believe that we will ultimately prevail.
Cameroon is not going to be a strange topic once you start your negotiations behind the scenes. Even Secretary Rubio led one of those resolutions against the government of Cameroon vis-a-vis the Ambazonian crisis. So it's not going to
That's
be
why we are
strange.
confident that things will be easier. We just want to make sure that when we get to that point in about a week, we want to make sure that we have our best face, the best face possible. And that's why we keep asking people to sign the petition. If you have not signed that petition, wherever you are, sign it. Your voice matters.
And do you know if there are any other parallel operations of this kind running also within the US government?
What operation? What
Like
type of
petitions of different forms?
No, I'm not. I'm not informed of that. I'm not aware.
Because when I had Tibonage last week, he said when he was Secretary of State, he could not receive any of the Ambazonian movements because there were just too many movements coming and complaining about the same thing. And he advised them to go come as one, but they never came.
Exactly.
So that could be the same problem you would face with this. So it's good to do any mapping around to see. So this petition plus the opposition and the projects you're talking about, what is the opposition's view
Game
about
over.
this?
If you have those three things, game over for Mr. B. If the opposition party, we're working with a number of opposition leaders, if one of them or all of them accept the project and sign the project, I will tell you, game over. Mr. Biya leaves this coming October. So that's where the key is. And many people who do not understand the dynamics behind closed doors, they don't understand that the link between international pressure and Cameroonian elections is actually that project. And
I actually about that link, I actually took time under my video with Tibon Nash to explain to somebody who watched the video and thought that the video is about calling a white savior to come and save Cameroon. The only examples I used was, why do you think Cameroon gets money to organize these elections? And where do you think Cameroon gets money to fund the government? It is from these people, and they need to know what is happening with that money, because at the end of the day, that money is either stolen, as you have explained, or that money or equipment are used to violate human rights. So when you put the two together, it creates a situation for people to understand why the international awareness is necessary on what is happening. Unless we use this kind of projects you're talking about to emancipate ourselves economically, our governments will continue being dependent on foreign governments. And as such, foreign governments will continue having an interest in our issues.
Exactly.
It's that simple.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when you talk to the opposition leaders, what do they say?
So at this point, I cannot go deeper in the conversations because it's still a negotiation. But I can tell you most of them are afraid. See, I'm always amazed when you want to remove someone from office and you are terribly afraid of that person. You know, it really doesn't make sense because some of them bluntly told me, okay, listen, I don't want any problem. So I'm telling them, hey, you guys want to throw Biya, Mr. Biya, right? You want him out of office. So why are you afraid to do what needs to be done? And I've heard answers like, man, if I go that route, it's a dangerous one. They may understand that I'm getting serious, and they will actually. So what that tells me is the guy is not serious. So he's running for office. He's claiming everywhere that he wants to remove the Cameroonian president. He wants to replace the president. That he's afraid when it comes to actually taking steps that will effectively lead him to his goal. And so that's the small contradiction that I found. But thank God there are other leaders who are more major leaders and who understand that it's something possible. We are talking to at least two of the main leaders right now, and we believe that we are going to have an agreement in place pretty soon with one of the leaders or the two main leaders.
In what interest should a leader accept this if the leader knows that the results or the outcome of the elections are going to be determined, and as usual, foreign powers are just going to make statements that they usually make, and then life continues?
This is the game changer here, because just think about it. And I don't want to go too much into it.
Don't go too much into it, even though some of my questions can make you go too much into it, but don't.
There are things I don't want to say, but it seems obvious that if you mess up with 20,000 American jobs, you have a problem. It makes sense to me, because knowing this President Trump, whose main focus is the American workforce, you could get in trouble with Mr. Trump for less than that. You could get in trouble with him for 100 jobs if you treated even 5 or 10 of those jobs. We are talking here about 20,000 American jobs. This is a major thing. This is a major focus, and it's a game changer for any country that will help create 20,000 American jobs. Let's just face it. If you are real about elections in Cameroon, if you are real about replacing Mr. Biya, this is the way you do.
President Trump's interest, yes, is in creating jobs, building the American economy. Yep. But when it comes to foreign business attachment, he's looking more into AI, chips, and strategic minerals.
I don't think so. The beauty of having Mr. Trump as president of the United States is that finally we have a common sense president. It's someone who can look at a situation, understands the situation, and makes the right call for that. Any president, any politician who tells you 20,000 American jobs are something short of a priority, that guy shouldn't be in office. That man or that woman shouldn't be in office. So, and we believe that President Trump is going to make the right call. We're talking about 20,000 American jobs. That's something. That's 20,000 American families. 20,000. So there is no way an American patriot like Mr. Trump pushes that aside. It cannot happen. It won't happen. Mr.
That
Trump
is a good side.
To make sure 20,000 American jobs come to the US.
That is a good side. What are the downsides you are seeing, or the hurdles you are seeing in achieving this with President Trump and the Congress?
I can only see and only think of, and trust me, I've been working on this for some time, and I don't see any downside. There are only good things that can happen from this relationship, and I'm talking from the point of view of someone who spent months weeks and months working on this project, looking at all the angles. And all I can tell you again, listen, if this thing comes true, the people of Cameroon will be free this October 12th. Politicians need to do what has to be done. And the people of Cameroon need to put pressure on their politicians to push them towards such a project, because partnering with America is the way to go.
So when you look at President Trump's foreign policies, he's tying all of them to the economy. Look at the way he's trying to resolve the war between Russia and Ukraine.
Yeah.
He wants to get American businesses right in there.
Yeah.
The DRC and Rwanda, businesses. China, business. So he's thinking only about businesses, and that is the way we need to think. But we are not fashioned to think that way in Africa.
He is a common sense president, and it's refreshing to have someone like that in office. Someone who could actually look at the numbers and understand very quickly what works for the American people or not. So it's a great time to be alive.
So what you're telling me is this your project is not bringing in a white savior to solve Cameroon's problems,
it's not.
But bringing in projects that would develop Cameroon and have a positive impact on the United States.
Yeah, that's a win-win situation. 5 million jobs in Cameroon. 5 million. Look at it this way. Unemployment in Cameroon is at 74%, which means that 74 people out of 100 in Cameroon are jobless.
That's 7 people out of 10.
Yeah, those are not my numbers. Those are the numbers from the Cameroonian parliament. They are the ones saying that. And if the parliament is saying 74%, the reality should be close to 96%. So that is the reality. And in such a country, coming in with a project that can create 5 million jobs, it means for you and me that no more need to send money overseas, because now people will be having their own jobs, be able to take care of their families. So this should also be taken by the diaspora as something major, a major milestone that must be reached to help Cameroon gain its freedom and to increase business ties between Cameroon and the US.
Are you telling me that if President Biya is still in power over the next 6 months, this project dies?
What I'm telling you is, number one, Mr. Biya is incapable. Mr. Biya and his system are incapable of making this project happen. They cannot, and I'm talking as someone who's worked in Cameroon for a few years, like 7 or 8 years that I've worked in Cameroon. And I've worked closely with most of those people. So I know how they think. I know what they can do. I know what they cannot do. And what I can tell you with force is that this regime cannot carry out such a project. If you want to destroy this project, give it to this regime. So now the Cameroonian people will have a choice to make. If they want 5 million jobs, they know what to do. They need to go out and elect the person who's going to carry this project, because that's where Cameroon's development is coming from. So let's just leave out Mr. Biya, because he's the past. And I believe that come October, the Cameroonian people will elect a new president in Cameroon.
You are so confident.
I am so confident.
That
it's going to happen.
That the Electoral Commission and the Constitutional Council would say some other person won?
Don't get me wrong. I have no confidence in the Constitutional Council. Those are BS people. But I have confidence in the Cameroonian people that come October 12th, they will make the right decision. They will vote President Biya out. And the difference right now is going to be that, unlike the other times when the people could not defend its vote, this time the people of Cameroon will have the help they need to defend their vote. And they need help concerning technology. So having the technology that will allow for the results to be known on the same day is a major thing to realize. It's a major achievement. And we will make sure that that achievement is in place.
Being conscious that on elections day itself, there is going to be no internet in Cameroon. A few days before, there's going to be weak internet. Elections day, no internet. A few days later, no. Okay.
That's exactly the reason why I'm saying the Cameroonian people cannot do this on their own. They need help. They need people with the technology to make it happen. They need people with the assets to make it happen. And that's why we are saying that when you guys accept this project, it's all of that you're bringing in. It's all of that you're bringing in. You're actually bringing in the ability to have internet before, during, and after the election. That's the ability you're bringing in. You're bringing in the ability to have the technology that is required to have the results on the same day of the election. So the people of Cameroon can actually go to bed on that day, knowing that either Mr. Chiroma or Mr. Bello Buba is the next president of Cameroon.
Why did you choose these two names?
Oh, well, because they are the most obvious. I understand that they are people with a lot of sins, and trust me when I say that. But the reality is that understanding Cameroonians' politics, it's clear that it could only be one of those two. It's either Mr. Chiroma or Mr. Berobo. The electorate of Cameroon is 41% in the greater north of Cameroon. So
that tells me that you believe in the electoral list as it is now.
That I believe in? No. What I believe in is the ability of the people to stop fraud. For the first time in 43 years, we saw the people of Marwa and other districts or subdivisions within within that region come together to ensure that a CPDM meeting could not take place. We've never seen that in Cameroon. It has never happened. We saw powerful government members running for their lives because the people say there is no CPDM meeting here. We saw a subdivision officer blocking the road to make sure that a major political candidate doesn't go through to go and hold his meeting. And we saw the people of Cameroon carry the car with the subdivisional officer inside, carry the car and push it aside with the police standing. That gives me hope. That tells me if there was ever a time to make this happen, that time is now.
Does that tell you that the government is going to militarize every section of the country?
That really doesn't matter. They had policemen and gendarmerie in Menganga a few days ago, But if you have 10,000 people and you have 100 policemen, what can they do? What can they do? Nothing. And we saw that in Menganga. We saw that in Marwa. We saw that in Gara. That's the reason why I'm saying the people in power in Cameroon understand exactly what's happening. And they know that the time is near.
Thank you very much. Ben Modo. I would like this conversation to continue, but it's been running for too long. I hope to have you here soon again, because it looks like it's a pair that can discuss very well and analyze these issues from a very critical point of view.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for coming to the Beyond Africa podcast. If you have any last word for my viewers, please give them now.
Number one, sign the petition. The petition is online. I hope you can show the link.
I'll add the link of the petition in the description below. Yeah.
Okay. So they need to sign it. It's not over. The Cameroonians should not feel discouraged. The diaspora should not feel discouraged. This regime is bad, and this regime must go. And things are being done to ensure that Mr. Biya and the gangsters who work with him are actually pushed out of power within the next few weeks. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. They need to know it. They need to feel it. It's coming. That's what I can say.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ben Modo. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching this episode of the Beyond Africa podcast with me, your host, Ngalim Bernard, and my guest, Mr. Ben Modo. It's been very interesting talking to Ben from the business perspective of politics. Politics has different angles from which you could approach it. One is business. One is making your constituents or your voters feel comfortable that once you are elected into office, you are going to provide what they voted for. And you must take chances. You must take the risk to vote the right people into office. And the diaspora, Ben has said it all, should play a critical role in changing the life of Africa. The diaspora, wherever you are there because life is better. You are there most probably because you left home because of the bad governance at home. Where you are, there is probably good governance, and you can borrow lessons from this good governance to change the story back home. It is your time. It is your moment. It is your opportunity to grab. So stay tuned. Enjoy our programs on Beyond Africa. Enjoy our podcast on the Beyond Africa podcast. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and leave a comment. This is what makes us go, grow, and keep the momentum going. Thank you so much, and stay tuned on the Beyond Africa podcast. Bye-bye.